Welcome to the Work Positive Podcast with your host, executive coach, and culture architect, Dr. Joey Faucette. Discover strategies and tactics that work positive as Dr. Joey talks with industry leaders who create a positive work culture that attracts top talent and reduces team turnover. Discover how you can create a work positive culture that increases productivity and profits. Here's your host, Dr. Joey.
Hey, Work Positive Nation, what do you say we take a break from work today? You up for that? Yep. You need a break? You deserve a break. Well, during this break, what if we take a break from more than just your typical work? What if we take a break from some of the stuff you drug in the door to your work today? And we just kind of set aside some of that stuff, so we're break free from it. Would that be good for you today? You got some stuff that you want to break free from? Well, today's guest is going to help you do just that. He is an author. In fact, if you want to go to yournewbeginningbook.com, yournewbeginningbook.com, and discover some treasures there, that would be great during this episode. Hey, if you're on the Peloton or walking the dog or something, don't worry about it. It's in the show notes. You can find it there. What we're going to do is we're going to take a break, and we're going to spell it out for you today. The spell breaker is here on the Work Positive Podcast today. I'm so excited to welcome as my guest, Brian Ridgway. Brian, welcome to the Work Positive Podcast, my friend.
Aloha. Thanks, Dr. Joy. I'm excited about this conversation.
Oh, me too, man. And aloha is more than just a word for Brian, because you're sitting where?
On the Big Island.
On the Big Island. Okay. Work Positive Nation, let's get in that state of mind now, because we're taking a break from work, right? We're in a Hawaii state of mind. It's easy for me to do, man, because I've been to Maui. And as we were talking about before we started this, the sun is just different there, right? I came back looking like a bronze love god. Most of the time I'm a pale white guy. So
I don't know how it worked for you. I've been here all this time and I haven't turned into the bronze love god. I'm still
Well, I was with my wife. It was her 40th birthday, so that was probably part of the magic for me. We rode down the highway to Hana, and I mean, it was a magical place. See, Work Positive Nation's relaxing. They're breathing more deeply now, those kinds of things. Oh, yeah. Brian, there are some people who still refer to your professional life and your personal life. Yep. I don't know about you, Brian, but that just does not work for me. I come to work as a whole person. I am Joey, right? And so when I show up for work, that's who I am. You help us, I think, in some magical ways, really understand that we are whole people and that we can be more whole when we take a break from some of the things that keep us from being our best selves. Talk about how we can take a break and become our best selves.
One of my favorite questions, literally, truly one of my favorite questions. Here's how simple it is. After several decades of trying thousands of other complicated, hard approaches that didn't work, I learned that to start with, breathing in a certain way will bring anyone who does it directly to their center, totally present. And the minute that happens, that world of problems is left where it was. Where it originated in their imagination, and that you can be here fully present. Right.
So tell me about that breathing. I want to do it right now during this episode.
I'll be happy to invite it, and I can do a very short version of this. So let me just say that I don't view this as a breathing technique.
Okay.
I don't view this as any of the other things that people do. There's a lot of breathing things that have value. I have discovered that this takes one back to being a peaceful, resting baby in the womb, not long after birth, in total centered peace. So breathe in, first of all, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And you just notice that as you notice breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, you just brought attention to your body. You're noticing your nose. You're noticing your nostrils. You're noticing, in through the mouth. You notice that on the inhale, your mouth just comes closed. And on the exhale, your mouth falls open so that air can come out your mouth. Now you're already well on your way, smoothing out the inhale and the exhale to where the duration is just about the same, in through the nose, out through the mouth, already feeling, wow, this does make a difference. Just this. Taking it one step further, breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, making the same duration in and out, and then smoothing out any pauses. It's just at the bottom of the exhale, you're going into the inhale. At the top of the inhale, going straight into the exhale. From there, just increasing the capacity just a little bit with every breath brings you right back into the state that you were in before there was any trauma, any concerns, any beliefs to be wrestling with, any so-called negativity. There's more to it. And I do have, I'll slip this in. This is like a no strings, just free gift.
Sure.
I have 3 videos where I go through a master class on breathing yourself into complete presence.
Oh, wow.
It can't fail. It's just your nature. I did them on the top of this gorgeous mountain here in a cloud forest. Just the vibes of the video is so amazing. That's at, spelled my name, so it'll be there, briandridgway.com/breath. briandridgway.com/breath.
Yeah, we'll get that in the show notes for you. The scenery is so picturesque. You'll be immediately relaxed and back to yourself. So, Brian, so often here on the Work Positive podcast, we talk about attracting top talent. It seems to me, based on what we were just talking about, that step one is for me to become my best self. Talk about how I do that as a way of, I hesitate to say attracting, but inviting people to work together in a collaborative process.
Beautiful. You know, with that conversation we were fortunate to have just before the interview, I would say I can see the use and the understanding of that concept of attracting. And I just offer a slightly different reflection for anyone who wants to look at it. What if I consider, rather than attracting, good or bad or whatever, what if I view it as I'm reflecting what's going on in me? So that makes, you basically said a little bit ago, something I so often say: when you start your day and then you start your work day and you put on your entrepreneur or your employee hat, guess who's under that hat? There you are with everything you brought. So that whole idea of business and personal is so ludicrous and hilarious at this point.
Yeah.
So similar to that, to be my quote best self is to be my true self. So this breathing into presence for me is always step one. And second, when I look at what I want to see in the people reflecting me, I ask, what do I want to see in the mirror? It's kind of weird for me to walk up to a mirror that's frowning and go, okay, this is very frustrating. After a couple of seconds, when that doesn't work, something is like,
man, reflecting is such a big word. What we're trying to do in Work Positive Nation, Brian, as we talked about before, is take a step away from recruiting. Because that sounds like you're trying to sell somebody a bill of goods, right? A pig in a poke or something. And so, if you'll just come to work here, you'll love it. I mean, it goes on every single day. Now, I call the guys talking about that Kevin's, right? It's just Kevin culture, right? Because we got Karen and we know her. So
I got it when you said, I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we're taking a step away from recruiting to attracting. But man, job one is to discover that the persons we want to work with, we reflect each other. Jim Rohn, my favorite business philosopher, said it years ago: you're the average of the 5 persons with whom you spend the most time. 70% of our waking hours, Brian, are spent where? Working, right? So tell me, it's so easy to play that blame game, Brian, and to say, oh, if you were a better employee or if you just worked harder or something like that. Man, but tell me how I can tune up, can I say it that way, or become my best self or find a new beginning, right? So that I get reflected back to me, my best self, and then I'm encouraging the growth and new beginnings of the best self of others on my team.
Yeah, I actually, this is very interesting for me. I could go for 2 hours on this rant and it would benefit any, I know there would be benefit. I'm going to take this to 2 minutes here if I could pull this off. I actually have a process that came through me several years ago that I call the perfect partner process. And it might be the most, I don't say this with a joke or with pride. It might be the most powerful relationship tool ever. And I don't really claim that I created it. It just came right through me. It's miraculously changed my life and so many others. And I found out right after I created that it could be used for almost any partnership, not just intimate.
Right.
A simple way to outline this. If you take a piece of paper, draw a line straight down the middle, draw a line up at the very top, and on the left, you would write, my perfect work culture experience includes blank.
Mm-hmm.
And on the right side of the page, at the very top, you would write what this reflects in me and my behavior. So you would then go down the left side and each write that full sentence out, just like we did in school, handwrite that thing out and type in that my perfect work culture includes peace and harmony and communication. What this reflects in my choices and behavior. I got to be clear and calm and centered in. And as you go down the left side writing, what you're actually doing is clarifying within yourself things you never would have dreamed that you even wanted. And without the clarity to call them in and reflect them, how are you going to get them? Wow. So you're getting clearer than you've ever been, which instantly brings more clarity on the side of what that would reflect in me. Then on the left side, you feel that feeling. Go back and look at it and feel the feeling up to a 10. Go to the right side and ask for each one of those items. Am I willing? Completely mind-blowing. That simple process. I put 10 minutes into it, put 5 minutes a day for a month and watch what happens.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. So Work Positive, let me translate what Brian just described for you into language that you're used to talking about. On that left side of that piece of paper are your core values. Those are the things that you really, really want to work out of. And on that right side are the KPIs, those key performance indicators, which reflect those core values. And that's just what he described for us. But how often, and I'm still blown away with the coaching work that we do, how often do we understand those KPIs and relate those to our core values? So it's simple, yes, Brian, but it's profound because you're articulating. You're saying, here's what's important to me. Here are my core values. And here are the behaviors that are going to support that. So here's how I will act in congruence with that. And thereby, what you just did was you created a team, right? When you do that as an activity, you created a team that is capable of innovation and creativity in ways that they've never had before. What are some of the examples of ways you've seen, whether it's partnerships between a couple of people intimately or teams of people, use this technique and really achieve some amazing results?
Well, someone I shared it with about 8 years ago as it was coming through that I knew in the UK, businessman, working online, some innovative things. We had a 15-minute conversation. We addressed a relationship question that he had with this. And he messaged me about 2 weeks later. He said the relationship automatically transformed. He was so busy, he didn't even think about it. 2 weeks passed. And his profits at his company had doubled, and he said, I don't know what I'm doing differently. I have no clue. I just know that it's tied to that. In the area of intimate relationship, I have seen people use this tool. The numbers, I did a course on this in intimate relationship a couple of years ago, and I'm still getting testimonials of it. Literally, like a woman who was on the way out the door, the marriage was over. She had told him it was over, 30 years of hell for both of them. Wow. She went through this process, and within 2 days, didn't tell her husband about it. Everything she was writing down on the left, my perfect love partner is, he came back to her saying he realized he wanted to do this and do that. And there's so many of those. Now, you and I probably aren't as surprised as some people might be. Right. I'm so surprised at how well this works that I'm not even surprised anymore, and how I'm just constantly surprised at how I'm not even surprised anymore. And how
well, it becomes an expectation after a while because you've seen it work time after time. And what you're doing is you're gaining clarity around who you are. We're back to that reflection piece, right? I'm gaining clarity around who I am. And then what are my behaviors that are going to support that clarity? And because you're the average of the 5 persons with whom you spend the most time, right? They begin taking on those same characteristics. So it's that reflection that we were talking about earlier. It's just that most of us get up because the alarm clock went off too early and grouse our way into work, right? Whether it's staggering into our home office or whether it's, finding our way to a building somewhere. And we just fail to take the time and breathe, clarify our best selves, and then communicate that in ways to others that they can understand and respond to, right?
Yep. And so simple and doesn't always seem so easy or so simple.
Oh, it's simple, man, but it's not easy because most of us are just going to do what's familiar. And that is just get up and go get it done and come back home and pretend that there's a difference between our personal and professional lives, right? Yeah. So that being said, Brian Ridgway is my guest, by the way. Go to, just as soon as you can, yournewbeginningbook.com. It's incredible. It's a new book that Brian's got out. He's going to tell us more about it later. But on our way to becoming our best selves, to creating these new beginnings, what are some of the more common challenges that you've seen among persons, particularly in a work culture?
Well, this is where I start to sound like a broken record, perhaps. For me, it literally all comes back to, am I present or am I not present? We all have the trauma. We've all been through it to whatever extent. I mean, in the womb, for people who look into such places, we learn and pick up a whole lot of things in the womb that we really have decided on, and they're running as scripts for the rest of our lives until they're examined or dissolved or both. And then we have life at home with the family when we're little, and looks like we'll never get out of it. Yeah. So to be aware that we are here now with all of that stuff being dragged with us into the present moment. If we're not present, we're going to be acting from every one of those traumatic experiences as we're bounced around in our unconsciousness by things reflecting to wake us up that we're not awake. So we perceive them as threats. So with all, it doesn't matter, every day. So the answer for me is literally to every challenge, including the challenge of bringing in the perfect team, maintaining that communication with the perfect team, getting that team to the highest effectiveness and enjoyment literally comes back to me being present. And I know without question what to do from that place in every situation. Yeah. Like almost a lot of my rule book and my to-do book, must remember book, all disappear, and I'm more effective than ever.
Wow. Yeah. I'm reminded that we live unexamined lives. We work out of unexamined lives, and we just reflex our way based on those previous traumas. So you had quite a traumatic experience yourself that really provided, I think, the springboard which propelled you into understanding these matters so well, Brian. Are you comfortable sharing?
Oh man, I look back on every horrifying moment with gratitude and joy now. It's awesome, man. So just, my dad was full of anger and pain from a very abusive childhood. Apparently, as a teen, he was 6 foot. My dad was 6'4", and apparently, as a teen, he stretched out real early, so he got made fun of mercilessly. Redheaded Irishman. So he was out of the military. Met my mom, who was very unhappy. She had a lot of trauma and pain she had been through. Recent broken marriage and 2 kids, and so there was her sadness and his anger, and my brother and sister's misery. And that's what I was born into. So that sucked. And for 17 years, I was basically taught stupid, ugly, worthless piece of shit. That was the mantra given to me. That was my mantle that was bequeathed upon me. Stupid, ugly, worthless piece of shit. And with, as far as I know, physical violence every day for those first 17 years. I know there was emotional violence every day. The rest is kind of a blur. There was plenty of it. And so I left, and then I left home. Stupid, ugly, worthless piece of shit. I knew that's what I was. So guess what life I created? Yeah. And there it led me into self-help, and I can fill in any other gaps, but there's the short version, and here we are.
Now, you mentioned something to me pre-recording about dying for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Share that with us.
Yeah. When I was 16, hot summer day in South Carolina, I woke up, put on my tennis shoes, a pair of cut-off jean shorts. That was my safety gear. Jumped on my 10-speed, took off. I was going down a very remote country road, and I heard a horn behind me. I turned and didn't see the car, and next thing I knew, I was dead.
Oh, wow.
And Highway Patrol estimate was the car was going about 85 when they hit my bike.
Are
And they
you
hit my
kidding?
tire.
Did you say
they hit
85?
85 from the skid marks of the car, and they clipped my back tire at that speed. So it basically spun the bike and threw me, and I flew about 30 feet, and I fortunately would say I hit rolling rather than flat, which would have been fini, right?
Right.
And during those next 30 minutes, I remembered I remembered everything. And that was at age 16. And to slip something in that we haven't talked about, it's just relevant and we don't have to like go into it, but the way that I work with people, like my strange gift, whatever, I've actually been doing this since I was 3.
Wow.
Basically, from the time that I could talk, I was able to help people in exactly the same way that I do now at 50. What am I, 58, I think.
Yeah. Close enough.
and that so-called near-death experience, I was dead for 30 minutes, really informed for me a lot of how I was doing what I was doing and why I was doing it. And revolutionary experience for me.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah. Well, you've just redefined life-changing for me, Brian. Man, because when you've stared into your own mortality, life takes on a different set of presuppositions. And
it more or less wiped out my as far as I could see. It wiped up. Like, wait, what do I know? Oh, no.
Yeah, nothing.
I know less than I ever did right now.
I know. You go into that experience thinking you're all that in a bag of chips, right? And then you come out and not only am I not all that, but I don't have any chips, right? But it just rearranges the priorities of life. And that had to be a springboard experience for you in terms of where you are now and working with people to, can I say, die into themselves? Is it okay to talk about
I go for that. Yeah.
Yeah. And experience this new beginning. So tell us a little bit about your new book, yournewbeginningbook.com is the website. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, man. Well, I'm way beyond enthusiastic about this. For those that were on video, those can see, like I'm so lit up. This book, I wrote my first book about 8 years ago. And I jokingly told my publisher, how about Break Your Self-Help Addiction for a title? And she said, that is perfect. For your 30 to 40% of my clients, whatever, are coaches, therapists, healers, mentors, energy workers, law of attraction experts, psychologists who are at the end of their rope on certain issues themselves, right? So what has happened since that first book came out, I have realized that one of the things that's behind what's obvious when I'm working with people is I am helping them to shift their identity, but I'm not just helping them rewire their brain in this way or that way. I'm helping them get to their true self, their actual self, and start their new beginning as not just somebody new, not just changed, but as what they actually are. And so some conversations with my team led to this title, Your New Beginning. We're all loving, everybody's loving. And the book is how to unmake your identity that you picked up in your life up to this point, dissolve it in the light that you are, because you made it out of light in the first place, dissolve it right back into what it was before you made it what it is, recover what you are, and be able to start to live and act and do and speak from there. So that's why I'm so enthusiastic. Oh,
yeah. It's like coming home again, but maybe you've never really been home, right? Since you were in the womb, right?
Right. Yeah. And that's that funny irony. You never been home since, and you've never left.
Yeah, really. It's a paradox, right? Yeah.
Yeah, man.
It really is. And so when we can do that, because most of us are running off what I call invisible scripts that other people have spoken into us, like you were talking about your family of origin there a minute ago. We're running off those invisible scripts, and we bought the lies that other people have told us about who we are. So being able to get to know yourself, to see work, really what you're doing is redefining work, because you see yourself as home within yourself, and then you come to work as a creative process. And sure, I mean, you got to make money in these kinds of things, but the money comes because you're working out of who you were created to be, unique out of about 8 billion of us, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, Dr. Joey, I had somebody on one of the most recent group sessions that I was doing, and somebody asked me, Brian, how can I earn more money? And I said, are you absolutely positive beyond the shadow of a doubt that you have to earn money?
Yeah, exactly.
And that was enough. That was enough for the place that he was at. Oh
man.
where did
Yeah.
I have a question that my favorite question to share with people these days. I used to be a little more proper, but my question now, I'm just gonna say it real blunt. You can bleep if you need to. Where'd I get that shit? Where'd I get that thing that I've been running, that script I've been running, and the way that I was applying that to myself and others and not enjoying it? Where'd I get that shit? Man, when somebody asks that question, it opens a whole new realm of fun.
Oh, it does. And how do I get rid of it? You know, I refer to the Dr. Joey two-step, Brian, and you've never heard this before, but the Dr. Joey two-step is step one's grab the handle, right? Because I can learn from everybody. Step two is flush. And we're flushing all that stuff that these people gave to us, right? And yes, as Work Positive Nation knows, Brian Ridgway, sometimes multiple flushes are required, right?
Sometimes.
Just to get rid of all that stuff that we've picked up, the lies that we've allowed to become Velcro to who we are. Rather, becoming our best selves and redefining work. Earn suggests struggle, right? But work has meaning, purpose, satisfaction, and gives expression to the best of who we are. So we're really redefining work.
Yep. Yeah.
Brian Ridgway is my guest on this episode of the Work Positive Podcast. Go right now to yournewbeginningbook.com. And what was the name of the other book that you mentioned? Break Your Self-Help Addiction?
Yeah, Break Your Self-Help Addiction. And that one is available at breakyourselfhelpaddiction.com, and it's on Amazon.
Right. And wherever other fine books are sold, right? Yeah. So, hey, Brian Ridgway, Work Positive Nation always wants to know from my guest, what's your one thing, Brian Ridgway's one thing that Work Positive Nation can do starting today to help get to their best selves, to come home again, right? And to create a positive work culture?
It is to bring your attention to where you actually are, not anything you think, not anything you've fretted about tomorrow or yesterday, to bring your attention right to where you are, and then to bring that awareness to breathe in through your nose and notice the air, notice the temperature, and breathe out through your mouth and let your lungs fill to capacity. That capacity is there for a reason and for certain potentials. Might as well let yourself have it. And what if in breathing in this way, recognizing the abundance that breath is beyond oxygen, beyond atoms, beyond elements, which nobody has a freaking clue what any of that is. Everybody says nobody knows what oxygen is. No one knows air is. No one knows what those atoms are. No one knows what the elements of hydrogen, and nobody knows that stuff anyway. They just pretended it and we bought it. So to become aware of what that breath is, a miracle, a blessing beyond comprehension. And there's an endless number of them waiting. You're not going to take anybody else's air, and you're not going to run out. And from there, abundance in so-called business is automatic.
I love it. Brian Ridgway, yournewbeginningbook.com is the website you want to go to and get your coffee today from wherever fine books are sold. Brian, man, you've blessed me. Work Positive Nation, I promised you a break, and it was well worth the break, right? So keep breathing and do Brian's one thing as you enter back into that workspace. And Brian, man, I love you. I appreciate your time today. You've blessed Work Positive Nation with a lot of wisdom and a lot of truth. And I just pray you receive everything you've given us 100-fold, man.
So much thanks. I love you, brother. I love everybody hearing my voice, seeing my face. Thank you for this experience, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Work Positive Podcast. Please share this podcast with your friends who are HR and small business leaders so they can do one thing today to create a positive work culture that increases productivity and profits. I'd like to give you a free Work Positive course just for listening. It's called Something to Talk About, and it's transformed the work conversations of so many people all over the world. Get your free copy when you go to workpositive.today/something to talk about, and you can start transforming your conversations today. Remember, it pays to work positive.